Why did they start with this? Right, I just want to first off say I really like this book. Terrance Dicks is probably my favourite writer for the entirety of Doctor Who. Basically pioneered one of the best eras of the show, which solidified it as one of the biggest pop culture cult shows of all time. Not to mention almost writing 50% of the Target novelizations. Yeah, the man is one of my heroes, honestly. I just don't understand the logic behind releasing this book first. To give you some backstory, the BBC had just taken back its rights to produce Doctor Who books and other forms of media after the TV movie came out in 1996. The movie promised a new show with updated effects, a new style. It was going to be a perfect jumping on point for new fans. In their minds, it was inevitable that a TV series would be back on the air after that film, right? Unfortunately not, which I'm tempted to make a video on in the future actually. So this is where the EDA range comes in, to save the show and keep the fandom alive, as it has been for all those years without the programme actually being on air. The book takes place straight after the events of the TV movie, so go watch that one if you haven't already. The Doctor springs a trap in the TARDIS left by the Master in the TV movie, which makes him forget everything about himself. All his memories, who he was as a person. Yeah, if regenerating wasn't as stressful enough as it is. Yeah, I'm referring to that episode. He ends up having to revisit all of his past selves to regain all of his lost memories and ends up getting involved in a lot of his past adventures. This book also introduces Sam, who becomes the Doctor's first companion in the EDA range. So what are my thoughts on the book? Terrance Dicks is a god when it comes to writing Doctor Who media. His writing style is always so clear to understand, and he keeps you thrilled throughout the entire book. His experience of writing really pays off here, and trust me, if you're a Terrance Dicks fan, this book will not disappoint you, as a lot of his best episodes are referenced in the book. Sam is introduced in an unusually brief and interesting way, involving bags of cocaine, which feels really out of place in a Doctor Who book, but there you go. All the characters written well, however, especially the Third Doctor scenes. When the Third Doctor told the Brigadier of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force to kindly stop chuntering and make himself useful, it honestly made me laugh as much as it did when he was rude to him in the TV series. The book really took me back to those old episodes back in the Third Doctor era, and as a fan, that is one of the best things a Doctor Who writer can do. Yeah, and this is where the issue I have with the book starts. It was only really written for the fans, people who are new to the show or kind of want to get into classic Who through the book medium. Yeah, don't start here. At book number 1. Don't start at book number 1. How ridiculous does that sound? Okay, so to give you guys some perspective, I'm going to go through all of the episodes that you kind of need to have watched in order to read this book. It starts with An Unearthly Child. You'll have had to watch the War Games, which, considering it's a 12-part epic concluding Patrick Troughton's run, is kind of a big ask. You need to watch The Demons, you need to watch The Sea Devils. It makes a small reference, okay? You'll have need to watch State of Decay, and in order to kind of really understand this story, you need to watch Full Circle, and let's face it, considering you've probably gone and bought the box set, you're probably going to end up watching Warrior's Gate, so that's the entire E-Space trilogy there. You got the 5 Doctors, and to kind of fully appreciate that one, I suggest you go watch the 3 Doctors, because then you can kind of understand some of the relationships between the Doctors. Also, the episode just references the 3 Doctors quite a lot, so, I'd say go check that out. You need to have also watched the Trial of a Time Lord story. Now, that spans 14 parts, is covered over 4 discs, so split into 4 different episodes, effectively. So that's a big ask. You need to have watched The Planet of Spiders, and to kind of even understand The Planet of Spiders, you need to have watched Green Death. It just goes on and on and on. I could name countless bits of Time Lord lore episodes, some being Deadly Assassin, Invasion of Time, Arc of Infinity. They aren't essential, but again, you have to have watched so much to kind of understand what's happening here, and to a new reader, it's definitely not friendly. That being said, the stories it does reference and play with, it does absolutely brilliantly. For example, we learn a lot more about the Rastan Warrior, who appeared once in the 5 Doctors. Now, the 5 Doctors doesn't really explain much about this alien robot, but in the book, it describes a machine created by creatures that predated the Time Lords themselves. A race that was so good at creating war machines that they wiped themselves out, leaving only this terrifying weapon, which in the book it laid waste to an entire squad of heavily trained Sontaran warriors. I really like the way that it's built on existing characters like this. There are so many examples dotted around the book. I won't spoil anything more for you, but, that's just a snippet of the kind of stuff that's inside this. I also really like that the book doesn't just go along the same old plot lines that we've seen before in previous stories. It always bends around the story that Dix is referencing, and he makes an almost whole new mini-episode. Really, really cool. Overall, as a fan of the show, this was a really, really great read. I highly recommend this to any hardcore fan of the show. However, it's not a great jumping on point if you're not familiar with the extensive lore that the 50 years of Doctor Who has to offer. In total, I'm going to give this book a 7 out of 10. Outstanding writing, great read overall, but it can be a bit complex in places, especially the Sixth Doctor parts, and it's certainly not new reader friendly.